Hi, good morning. How's everybody? Uh, Today's Friday, the 7th of August. I'm busy watching this new guy now, Abdul for Senate in Michigan. It's another democratic socialist, just like Mamdani. He has all the same ideas. And, it's not so much that he's a democratic socialist. First of all, I explained to you about socialism. Socialism is not what people think. People think socialism is the opposite of capitalism. Socialism is not a situation where your house belongs to everybody else and you need to allow people to come and live in your house freely. It doesn't work like that. In fact, in France is ruled by the Socialist Party. And France is a highly successful first world country, but they are socialist. Socialism means sharing, and it means not wasting, and it means thinking about other people, not money. That's where it's the opposite of capitalism. Now, at the moment, we are following America, the old America, which is busy dying, which is American democratic capitalism. And, look at Elon Musk. He's a trillionaire. Okay, he's gone down to $750 billion, but it's still ridiculous. And he's in line to get another trillion from Tesla at the end of this year. 2 trillion. And America is in debt to the tune of 34 trillion. Elon Musk has got two of it. One man. Democratic capitalism is not sustainable. Dario Amodei and Sam Altman is hot on his heels with their IPOs. Everybody's now IPOing. So, both ChatGPT and Claude are both in the area of $950 billion as companies. That's almost $1 trillion. And yet they're not making a profit. It doesn't make sense. It's all on paper. And, paper can just crumble into nothing overnight. That's why you hear people, they billionaires, and then suddenly in 1 month they become penniless. And then you wonder how is that possible? Because it's all, on paper. I'm trying to think of that word about cards, where the cards all tumble. I can't get to that word now. But anyway, I'm busy watching Abdul for Senate here now, and that is the kind of thing that we must have here in the Western Cape, where everybody, he said, everybody of all religions, even those who are religion agnostic, they don't belong to a particular religion, as long as they're good. Like I said, being Muslim is no guarantee that you're a good person. In the Western Cape, you can see. They're all gangsters. Not all, but most of them. A lot of them are gangsters, but they're all Muslim, supposed to be. They've got Muslim names, like Sani, American. That's Ihsan. You know what a beautiful name that is. But anyway, let's not go there. I'm trying to say that Mamdani and Abdul thinks the way they do because they think like Muslims. I understand them perfectly, but I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a socialist. It just so happens that those formal academic systems, democracy and socialism, happens to line up much better with Islam. Islam is not democratic. In fact, the Arabs invented the word demokratia, and that is because it's a new word which is meant to describe democracy. And in 2011, when I went on pilgrimage to Mecca, as we are all wont to do, as part of one of the 5 principles of Islam, a young boy in Medina came up to me and he wanted to know about demokratia. So I told him, democratia, la, you don't want democracy here in this beautiful place. And I explained to him about how, he didn't understand English so well, so I showed him like with a knife and a gun, and they put a gun and they rob you and take your stuff. And then he just looked at me with big eyes because it couldn't register in his head, and he couldn't explain to me that he doesn't understand what I'm saying. How can somebody just take your stuff from you? In Mecca and Medina, you leave your stuff there and you come back the next day and it will still be there. You leave your sandals outside the mosque, I come back the next day, it's still there. Everything, anything. And so, sorry, I just got a message now from somebody. And so we have the opposite of that here. They'll break into your house day or night, and they don't just steal your stuff, they'll torture you to death. It's sick. And I just spoke about the Muslims now. I've been to Malaysia 3 times. We are Malay people here in Cape Town. You'll find some of us in Durban and Joburg also. But originally, 470 years ago, we were brought here by the Dutch, who became the Afrikaners. And we developed Afrikaans together because, they spoke Dutch and we spoke Bahasa, so we had to come up with a language, and we came up with an amalgamation of Bahasa, Dutch, Arabic, a sprinkling of isiXhosa words, and that became Afrikaans. A Afrikaner lady told me that the ch sound in Afrikaans comes from Arabic. English people can't say ch, Gauteng. My surname is Gaydin. I struggle to get people to say my surname. My students called me Mr. G because they couldn't say Mr. Gaydin. But we spoke a kitchen version of Afrikaans. And the Afrikaner, they formalized Afrikaans, and they speak the Afrikaans that we are taught in school, but we are able to speak, read, and write both Afrikaans, the Saber Afrikaans and our language, which is Kombuis Afrikaans. And both of us, the Afrikaners and the Malays, are losing their language to English because everybody wants to be an American nowadays. My own daughter-in-law, my son's wife, she doesn't understand a word of her own language. And in fact, she in a way despises Afrikaans. Although she did say, I must teach her daughter, my granddaughter, Afrikaans because there's nobody else to do it. And I'm fully bilingual. In fact, I prefer Afrikaans. My friends, we all speak Afrikaans on a Friday night. I shoot snooker and play clever-jazz. But we don't do it so much anymore, because, I don't know, we're getting old. There's hardly any of us left. We used to be 18, we're now 7. All because of old age and death and so on. COVID took a couple of us also. And so the Friday night thing is kind of dying out. I am busy. I just got 3 more literary agents to contact in the USA because that's where the big numbers are and the big readers are there. So I've sent away to about 10 literary agents. That's how it works. You send a couple of chapters of your book and your bio and stuff like that. You just Google literary agent. It comes up with a list of literary agents. And you say what your genre is, and then you send emails off to them, and you hope one of them replies and says, okay, we'll publish your book. So I'm writing a book. It's called The Ideal Society. And I hope that I do get published so that I can distribute the book here in South Africa as well. And then you can read about my ideas of what an ideal society is. I'm starting to have my doubts whether a place like the Western Cape or, the Western Cape can be flipped on its head to become an ideal society, because it's very easy to figure out what an ideal society is. You take the Western Cape, you flip it on its head, and that's an ideal society. In other words, Right now, we are the exact opposite of an ideal society. And that is why this channel is called Faith and Justice, because we need to re-establish faith and we need to re-establish justice. And that's a start. And that's why I've started this channel, so that I can get a couple of thousand followers, and then we can form a faith and justice political party. Because short of planting limpet mines and shooting AK-47s, the only way really for people of faith like me and you is to use the existing channels, which is the political system. So we'll contest the general election in 2029, should be April 29, judging on the history. The last one was in April 2024. So the next one, God willing, should be in April 2029. So we'll contest the general election, end up in Parliament, and the first thing we'll do is apply for an amendment to the Constitution where we can be allowed to secede from South Africa, and we'll then form the Republic of the Western Cape, so people know where we are. And once we are in charge, then we can do the implementation of the ideal society, slowly but surely. It'll take a while, but at least, it's like a car is rolling downhill with no one in control. So we need to stop it first and then push it back up the hill. That's how difficult it is, but it can be done and it must be done. We can't leave the next generation with this gangsterism and violence and pollution and corruption and no jobs and houses are sky high, no public health, no education. Education is frightfully expensive. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. All those things must be flipped on its head. That's what I mean when I say flipped on its head. So we need people of faith that we can trust to do this. And so that's what I'm hoping to start. And I just hope and pray we live that long. I'll see you.